Well, hello and welcome back to the very latest episode of my Love Machine podcast. Now, when it comes to dating, and when it comes to online dating too, people make very quick judgments based on photographs and how you look and how the way you present yourself. So to help me discuss this really interesting topic, I am delighted to bring you a very special lady, Adrianne Carter, who is known as the Face Whisperer. And Adrianne has recently set up her own company called The Dateables. So welcome, Adrianne. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much for having me on your podcast.
I'm really pleased. Now, we spoke a long time ago, didn't we?
We
Over a year ago. And since that time, you have grown your new business. So can you tell everyone that's listening exactly what you do? What is a Face Whisperer? And then please explain what The Dateables is.
Okay, so I trained 11 years ago in the face, the 43 muscles of the face, and how those 43 muscles can make over 16,500 different facial expressions. And of those 16,500, 3,000 are directly linked to emotions. So if you think about the English language, we only really use about 100 words in day-to-day life about how to describe how we feel about something, or, when we're discussing things. But the face gives so much information. There are 7 universal facial expressions. So anger, fear, disgust, surprise, happiness, sadness, and contempt. And what that means when I say universal, it means whether you're born in Birmingham, whether you're born in Bolivia, or even born blind, the way we show those 7 emotions is the same for all of us. Now, the triggers will be very, very different. So what might trigger happiness in you, James, might trigger disgust in me, might trigger sadness in somebody else. So the triggers are very different. We're all unique with our triggers, but the way we show those expressions is identical.
See, that's something I've learned already. I didn't know that. I didn't realise that even blind people do the same thing. So it's something that's built within us to react in certain ways. That's amazing.
It's innate within us. There's been a lot of research done with the Olympics. So the normal Olympics, if you like, and then the Paralympics and blind contestants. And when they get to the end of the race, they do this.
Right.
They've never seen another person. How do they know how to do that? That's not one of the universals, by the way. But
I better explain what you've just done, because people won't know what you've just done.
It's a good point, well made.
I don't use the video for this. So what you've done, you've raised your arms in the air as if to gesture that you've won something.
Yeah.
So that's something else, is it? That people do that naturally?
Yes, absolutely.
So where does that come from? Is that like a primal thing? Is it from...
Yeah, it's innate within us. It's, the parts of our brain that triggers emotions and controls emotions also is linked to our facial expressions and to our body language. So there are things we do that we think we've got perfect control over, and actually we haven't.
Okay, so what, in terms of business, normally, what sort of people hire you to work with them? Are we talking about people in the legal industry or journalists looking at pictures of celebrities? What do you have to do?
Both of those. So I work with brands such as Unilever and help them with their marketing and advertising campaigns in my day-to-day life. I also work with the judicial system, where they'll send me videos of people and get me to talk about whether they're credible, whether they're truthful. Is there something more we need to dig into about this story? I do also work with a lot of PR agencies where they'll send me videos or photographs of stuff that's happening currently. And also if they want to, so I've just done a project with a gambling site who want me to talk about the poker face and how to create the best poker face, because obviously poker is one of their main revenue streams. And so talking about the face and how that fits in with that, hiding how you feel, and also perhaps maybe trying to make other people believe you feel something different. So yeah, day to day is very, very random.
That's interesting, because I've just done a campaign with an online gambling company too, and that was more about Zoom dating, how to come across that way and present yourself, because that's an important part of this, and it is reading people's stuff, isn't it? So yes. I know that what we do, there are some crossovers here, aren't there? This is why we talked in the first place, because I have to understand how people come across in pictures and in real life, how they present themselves. You probably get the same thing that I do. You go anywhere and someone is fascinated by what you do, then they assume that you're just reading them the whole time.
Yes.
Do you get that?
Yeah, totally. And people get really uncomfortable around me as well. It's like, it's okay, it's fine. I'm not going to give you a blow-by-blow analysis. And as long as you know we're just having a normal chat and you're not intending to lie to me or trying to sell me sand from the Arabs or something, we're all good. It's all fine. And do you have the same?
Oh, all the time. But when I was single, it was worse, because people think, oh, you're using your skills on me, using your tricks and techniques. You're reading me, and you're they can't lie from me. I thought if they thought that wonderful, they weren't going to lie to me. I could just tell these things. But in reality, I'm not there reading them in that way. You make judgments when you first meet somebody if you can help them and you're looking at them. But what I find, though, people use photographs when it comes to online dating in particular. And I can tell by their picture if they were relaxed, if they were smiling, if it's a real smile, what were they really thinking in that picture. I presume you can do the same.
Absolutely.
Which is why you've crossed over now to launch the Dateable. So what exactly is the Dateables?
So it's a means of helping people to know more about themselves and other people and become better daters and date better. So that was the principle behind it. And that's my objective, is to help people, this knowledge I've got about the face. And it's not just emotions, it's also about personality. Did you know that there are over 60 odd traits of someone's personality that's also revealed by the face? And there's a growing body of scientific evidence around this. I studied in it about 8 years ago and never really did too much with it. And then someone said to me about 18 months ago, you should be using this for the dating world. And like, actually, that's a really good application of this, because, I use it for the marketing and advertising campaigns. They often want to get over trust. So using someone who's got the elements of trust in their face and to make people more, trust in the brand, in the product or in the service is a really useful application of it. But actually knowing more about someone's personality, because we don't always reveal how we really feel or what we really like. For instance, I had a couple, they wanted a compatibility report, and she said she was adventurous, she was fun loving, and he said the same. And he really was, from his face, there were elements of his personality traits on his face that I could tell that was true for him. But actually for her, it was more of a sporadic thing. She wasn't actually really as adventurous as he was. She was more the stay-at-home type, and she was happier at home, but she liked the odd excursion. So actually it wasn't to say don't get together. It was more about, there are times when she's going to want to be at home. She's going to want to be being a homebody, whereas you are going to feel like you want more out and excursions. So it's about compromise, and the compatibility reports I create based on personality and emotions are more about helping people understand the opportunities, but where the challenges may come, not about don't date or do date.
How can you tell that from a picture? If someone's likes going on holidays and excursions, how can you tell that?
So the high cheekbones are always the type of person who wants to get off and travel. I've got them. They're quite prominent normally, and the more prominent they are, the more someone will want to be off adventuring, skydiving. I'm not into the skydiving type, but I do love to travel. The thought this last 18 months being at home all the time has been really tough for me, because I love to be out and about doing stuff. So it's understanding what those traits means, and it's also about perceived. Some people look more agreeable, more open. Some people look more neurotic than others, and it's about how people see us and what we project into the world and what we can do to make that more appealing.
Does hairstyle come into that as well?
Only from the aspect of whether the hair is coarse or thick or not. So the thicker someone's hair is, the more thick-skinned they are, if you like. And if someone's got really, really thin hair, you go and look at the people that have got really thin hair, they're going to be more
anxious.
Well, it's not about anxiety. It can be about, I'm trying to put it in a really kind way, James, so I don't offend anybody who's got thin hair.
Don't worry, my listeners aren't very sensitive, don't worry.
Okay.
Maybe some of them are, but
the thinner the hair, that's a really good word, actually. The thinner the hair, the more sensitive the person is. They're going to be quickly to get offended. They're going to be quite critical. So the thinner the hair, the more sensitive the person.
Okay, interesting. Okay. And in terms of dating, what type of people come to you for help then? Is it singles? Is it couples?
It's mostly singles who are looking to find someone. My profile has been all age ranges. I thought I was going to sort of focus on the older data, as I'm an older lady myself. But actually that's not been the case. Young people have come to me too and said, help. It's a minefield out there. How do we do this better? And that's what I'm all about, really, helping people to do it better. It's about, I help people to see what I see. When I see the face and I see someone, this is what I see, and I help people to see that too. And it just gives them more knowledge. So that's how I help.
Fantastic. So someone starts out dating and they go onto maybe Tinder or Match.com and they start doing that. Most people tend to use terrible pictures.
Yes.
And I've covered that a lot already in my podcast. I'm not going to go into that in the same way. But
Hmm.
there are websites out there that, like you mentioned, things about trust. You can go onto a website and people can vote, can't they? And they can say, well, this picture makes you look more trustworthy, or it makes you
Yes.
look more attractive or more intelligent. So I suppose what you're doing, you're streamlining that and doing it a lot faster and giving them the exact details that they can do to change. Because
Yes.
these pictures in the websites, they might say, well, this picture makes you look more intelligent. They don't really tell you how, do they? They don't
No.
say, well, try wearing a glasses or try looking this way. So I presume that you give people advice on how to pose for these pictures in the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, how many people do you see in their profile pictures who've got sunglasses on? It's the
Yeah.
worst thing you could do. Stop wearing sunglasses in profile pictures because you're hiding the eyes. You know, the eyes are what we connect to immediately. We're looking at people's eyes all the time. So yeah, I do help people. And it's not just always about the, you know, what they do with the hair or what they're doing with their clothes. It's about the way they actually pose. You know, are they doing a pout? A lot of men find that off-putting when women do that. You know, the women might think it's great, but men don't see it the same. So it's about really having an objective view of what the other gender is seeing. You know, men do things in photographs too that women really are really off-put by. So it's just about helping people to see what is the best. And I'm going to be starting, I haven't got the name for it yet. My working title in my head is Charm School. And it's about helping people to be more charming, but to also to identify when other people are being fake charming. Because I'm
Yeah.
quite keen on helping people get past the normal BS. I'm not going to swear in case your listeners are a bit sensitive, but get past the normal BS because there's a lot of BS out there in the dating world. It's about helping people get beyond that I'm passionate about.
Yeah, I think men do not convey being charming very well in pictures. Some men can be absolute gentlemen in real life, but they tend to scowl in their pictures, looking really
Yes.
moody and uncomfortable, don't they?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
in terms of photographs, what would be a good picture for a man to put up, and what would be a good picture for a woman to put up? What would you recommend in terms of pose, in terms of expression, other than
So,
smiling, I presume?
well, yeah, genuine smiles. You know, I don't know if you've spoken about this before in detail, but genuine smiles and pose smiles, there's a big difference. There's a world of difference, actually. And I've done some research with, because I also lecture in consumer psychology. And we know from research in the lab and out in the field that you get 3 times more engagement if you show a genuine smile rather than a posed smile. So the difference between a genuine smile and a posed smile, a genuine smile is you always get the crow's feet. So I know ladies don't like to show these crow's feet, but actually they're a really great element of a genuine smile. Lips turning up, not going across. That's not a genuine smile. And if a posed smile is always, you don't get the crinkling at the side of the eyes. You might just get the lips going across. So using a picture that you are genuinely smiling is going to get you 3 times more engagement. And also think about the clothes you wear. You know, for a woman, revealing isn't always the best way to get someone engaged. You know, you might get a certain type of person engaged, but it might not be the one that you really want. So think about what you're wearing. What do you want to portray with your clothing? Do you want to come across as professional? Do you want to come across as relaxed? How do you want to be portrayed? And the same for men. You know, sometimes shirt off, because you see lots of pictures with men with their shirt off with their bulging muscles. You know, some women will like it, some men will like it, but it's not always the best way to portray yourself. So it's about thinking about, how do I want to be seen? How do I want people to perceive me? And then dress and portray yourself accordingly.
Okay, that's great. I absolutely can tell that myself from someone's picture. I have to critique people's profiles all the time, and I always say to them, "That's not a real smile, is it?" So no, I felt a bit uncomfortable. They always sort of, "Oh, I wasn't sure." Yeah, you're right, James, you're right every time, and they do
Yeah.
this. I think
Yeah.
it's interesting as well. You mentioned about trust earlier as well. When we first meet people the first time, you are making very quick micro decisions about whether we want to even spend time or talk to that person. And one of
Yes.
those things is, do we trust this person? Do we respect this person? And these are important things. So how, if you're meeting someone on a date, how can you come across as more trustworthy?
So it's about being open and honest. So you touched very briefly on profile pictures. If you turn up on a date and you don't look anything like your profile picture. And I say this to my corporate clients as well with LinkedIn. You know, if you're using a picture that you first used when you started on LinkedIn, which is 19 years ago, by the way, if you're still using that picture, same with Match, if you're still using the same picture, which is 15 years old, if you're using the same picture you used then and you turn up on date and you don't look anything like your picture, the first thing you've done is broken trust.
Yeah.
Because it's not you. And people buy from people, and they buy from people they like and trust, which includes dating. We're basically buying each other. When we go on a date, do we buy that person? Do we not buy that person? So we are, you know, if you get there and you've broken that trust already, it's going to be hard to come back from, because we want to know the goods we're buying. If you know, I don't mean that to sound rude, but we want to see who we're really going to be dating. So if you have no confidence in yourself by not showing a genuine picture of yourself as you are, then why should the other person have confidence in you? So for me, there are two really good reasons. Firstly, if you don't look like your picture and you turn up and you've broken trust. And secondly, what are you hiding? You know, what do you not want me to see? And if you are hiding how you really are, maybe there's something I don't want to see in there. Maybe there's something I don't want to engage with. So I think, you know, turning up and being who you are, whoever that is and whoever you are, and being honest and authentic with yourself is way more engaging than pretending to be something you're not.
I completely agree with you. And I said this a lot on my podcast. It's one of my things I say to all my clients. Dating is marketing. You are
Yes.
a product and you are buying each other, like you said. Because
Yes.
that's what it is. You're advertising and promoting yourself in such a way that someone wants to spend more time and to buy you.
Yeah.
And if you don't you're not presenting yourself the right way, you aren't going to get any interest. And if you're advertising yourself in the wrong way, that's false advertising. And they're going to want a refund. And they're going to be upset. They're going to be annoyed. So you have to present yourself in a way. But the picture should be you, but you on a really good day. So if you wear makeup in the pictures. If you don't, look like that in normal life. If you've got pictures of you at a wedding or looking different, they don't expect you to wear those outfits. But you need some ordinary, more average looking pictures as well. I do work with lots of photography companies who specialise in online dating photography, and they're amazing at what they do. But for a lot of people asking their friends to take pictures, it's about lighting, isn't it? About smiling, genuine smiles, looking the sort of person that wants to go out there. Okay, so let's go on to real life dating now as well. You haven't met somebody before, so how can you make sure when you first meet them that you're going to know if they're the one for you or not? How can you read somebody to decide if they're going to be a good match for you and they're actually genuinely interested?
So there's lots of body language stuff. You know, when you first meet someone, is their smile open? Is it genuine? Start identifying that. So what I help people to do is identify that. You know, what's their body language doing? Are they an open book? Are they relaxed? Where are their shoulders? Shoulders are a really good giveaway about how people are feeling. If the shoulders are really high, they might be really anxious and might be really tense. And that's fine on a first date. That's no problem whatsoever. Hopefully, as the date proceeds and if it's going well, the shoulders should come down and be more relaxed. If you're seeing the one-sided shoulder shrugs, this is a real giveaway that the person, whatever they're saying or what they're hearing, they have no confidence in. They don't believe it. Double-sided shoulder shrugs, we all know that means don't know, and no one ever tries to hide that. But the one-sided shoulder shrug, for me, I'm looking out for that, because if someone starts telling me something about themselves and they're talking and I see this one-sided shoulder shrug, I think, they have no confidence in what they've just said, or they might be telling me an untruth.
You know, I've never heard that before. That's interesting.
No, okay. Do you know, it's a really useful body language tip that nobody talks about. Yeah. Nobody talks about it. You see it all the time. You see it in politicians when they start talking. Matt Hancock, he did it a lot when he was questioned by the Dawn Butler it was on Twitter a few weeks ago, and he does this all the way through. Sometimes it's really just slight. So every time he says that, he's got no confidence in what he's just said. So he's telling me a poor thing. So that's so body language. You know, people leaning in, leaning back. You know, leaning in is interest, leaning back is disengaging. So I'm looking to see all the time how people are feeling. And what I do sometimes with people is I'll go along on a date hidden and just watch the interactions and just say, you know, looked like you were really engaging with each other. Actually, she pulled back, that, you know, you lost them at that point. And it's about just understanding, you know, are they really engaged? Because one thing that I find with dates is they don't want to waste time on people who aren't really interested and just stringing them along. And sometimes people do that, not because they're trying to be malicious, it's just they don't want to hurt someone's feelings. So they keep going on these dates when actually they're really not that interested. but their body language or their facial expressions will always leak that information. So it's understanding when to cut your losses and when to keep going and keep engaging.
See, that's interesting because I used to do that. I used to watch people in bars and observe them. And they run lots of speed dating events and singles parties over the years. So I do that anyway. It hasn't been for a while, but I want to do that again soon. And I have noticed, for example, there's people always have tells, don't they? They always have some way of giving away what they're really thinking. And I've noticed things like speed dating. They might be upwardly sitting up, really confident, great body language, engaging the person, being really friendly. But underneath, their foot is shaking or their knees are shaking on the table. And the person opposite them has no idea this is going on.
Yes.
Because they can't see this. Because there's barriers everywhere. So it's normal. People can hide it, but they can't hide everything.
And the thing is, they can hide either their facial expressions or their body language. Very rare is there a person who can do both. So if they've mastered their facial expressions to give nothing away, there'll be something in their body language below the neck that gives them away. If they've mastered their body language, then they're not thinking about their face. So they'll then be giving away facial stuff. So it's interesting. There is always a tell, like you said. There's always something that people give away.
You give me a flashback to the weekend. I saw my brother. We went out to see a show. We were just amusing each other and winding each other up, having a good laugh there. And for some reason, it was so funny. We were shaking with laughter, and my face was contorting bizarrely. I'd never done this before, and I was crying with laughter, literally tears coming out of my eyes. I always thought crying with laughter was just a phrase. I was crying, and my face was like this, and I'm trying to stop myself doing it because people were watching it. It's just embarrassing. And you can't stop it once it starts, especially if you're watching someone and reacting, because you do mirror people, don't you, consciously and subconsciously. And he was doing the same thing, and I was setting him off, and we were just giggling ourselves stupid. And I'm not regretting this. It was a lot of fun when we did this, because it wasn't a show being performed at us. It was sort of background music.
Yes,
it was amazing. So I think, oh, goodness me, people must think of me to do that. But it probably meant I was feeling very relaxed and happy, which is nice to know.
Absolutely. And I'm a great fan of showing how you really feel. You know, people often ask me to train them to hide how they really feel. I don't like doing it, to be honest, because I think, you know, we get so much social interaction and read so much, even without realizing we're doing it. You know, when I showed people pictures of different facial expressions, people go, oh, yeah, of course. It's just that we're not tuned into it. And what I want to do is help people be more tuned into it, because they've got a lot of natural skills already, and just use that natural skill they've already got and switch it on to use it to their benefit.
Do you have any tips in terms of flirting?
I always say, watch how someone reacts to your trying to flirt. And if you're not good at doing it, practice. If you're not good at doing it, don't do it, because it can come off really awkward. So if you're good at it, you know, one of the things I say to people is look down, look up, and do that 3 times. If they're still looking at you, they're interested. So that looking up, looking down, looking up, looking down, looking up, looking down, a bit slower than I've just done it there. Is a really good way to see. If they've lost interest and they're looking at the phone, they're not interested in that, you know, move on, because they're not interested. But how you do it is really important, because if you're not good at flirting, don't even try. But if people mirror you, so there's been some research revealed lately that if you move your phone and start looking at your phone and the other person that you're with does the same, that is also a sign of engagement. It doesn't mean that you're both distracted. It means actually you've got this contagion and you're interested in each other. So it's not necessarily a bad thing.
I have a great bit of advice to anyone listening. He wants to know if someone's attracted to them in a big party or an event. If you want, so you look across the room, they look at you, that's great. But sometimes they avoid eye contact. So you want to know they're looking at you. So one of my techniques, and this works really well, is you can be stood in the bar away from them, and all you have to do is, for some reason, jerk your head up and look at the ceiling, as if the sky is about to fall down. Yes. And if you look down and notice, they will do the same thing, because naturally they're going to be scared if they're watching you secretly that there's something wrong with the ceiling. And if their head jerks up, you look around, and you might just find by doing this that other people might start staring at the ceiling too. And there are probably other people that were checking you out. So do that a few times. Yeah, I've forgotten this one. Yeah.
The other one is watch where the feet are pointing. And we can't do that at the moment while we're all on Zoom and online dating. But when we're out and about, watch where the feet are pointing. It's said that the feet are the most truthful part of the body. So wherever the feet are pointing is where the person wants to go. So if the feet aren't pointing at you, they're probably not that interested. If they're pointing at the door, they really want to make an exit.
Yeah, I've seen that many a time at my singles at parties. They having a nice conversation. The feet are, get me out of it. Let me, almost like they're trying to run away, isn't it? To some
Yeah,
degree.
absolutely.
To do that.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this charm school that you're going to be setting up. What
So
exactly will that involve?
It's going to be to start with a free half-day session, helping people to identify different facial expressions on themselves and other people. So I think it's important to know ourselves. It's not just about reading other people, it's about reading ourselves. So it's going to be a bit of a session on that, a bit of a session on personality traits to look out for, and understanding what you want in a partner. So part of the charm school, the free session in the morning, will be about understand what you want in a partner and what to look for. And if they don't have those traits, don't write them off, because we all know chemistry is an amazing thing and great things can happen when it sparks. But there are some key traits on the face that we can look for that will be really important to us and that will make other people more compatible to us. And also just really about how to be more engaging. You know, if you feel uncomfortable in front of the camera, if you feel uncomfortable online dating, getting people more comfortable so that they give off the best of themselves, and also that they read when other people are being fake charming. I think that's quite important. You know, some people are really good at charm. Doesn't mean they're honest, doesn't mean they're truthful. You know, the best con artists are really charming people. So it's identifying when someone is being fake with that charm, and also when someone's being genuine, and how to genuinely put yourself across in a charming way.
It's true that when it comes to people being false charming and fake charming, the brain can't really tell the difference. It knows that you're being charmed and being told false compliments, but you still get the same buzz from it if someone pays you a false compliment. Did you think, oh, that's nice? I know they didn't mean it, but you still get the same hit from it. So what signs can you look out if you do? Maybe you go out on a date with someone and they're being false charming and they're just trying to tell you all the right things. Maybe they're love bombing you, telling you all sorts of nonsense that you want to hear. How can you spot that?
So look out for, someone says, yeah, I'm really excited. Your listeners can't see. Again, they say, I'm really excited, but my face is deadpan. They're not really excited. Real excitement comes with a great big beaming smile, and it's written all over their face and their energy changes. So look out for the mismatches in what they're saying and to what they are actually showing with their body language. If they're leaning backwards and, yeah, I'm really interested in going on another date, but they're getting further and further away from you, they're not really interested. They're just saying what they think you want to hear. So it's about really looking for mismatches for me. What is being said and what actually the body language or the facial expressions might be saying. One of the things that people do all the time when they're trying to fake someone is the posed smiles. It's really hard to put a genuine smile on your face when you're not feeling genuinely happy. So I'm quite passionate about smiles. Fake smiles and posed smiles. Really, really teach yourself. There's loads of information out on Mr. Google where you can find the difference between a fake smile and a posed smile, because that's one of the giveaways. When someone is being fakely, is that a word? I'm not sure if that's a word. Fake charming. Those posed smiles are in abundance, but they're not reaching the eyes, so they're not really genuine. And that's my number one tip, I would say, is look out for when someone is really just saying something and it's not reaching their eyes. They're not genuinely happy.
I completely agree there as well. It's also their actions. If they actions are matching what they're saying, then that's good. But they might make you false promises, promise you the absolute earth and then not deliver upon it. Or it might fizzle out. The attention might fizzle out quickly. Look out for these things. And then they're not face related. They're just adding my little tips into this as well.
Yeah. Maya Angelou said there's a famous quote. I might not get this exactly right, but she said, if someone shows you who they are, believe them. If their behavior, if their false promises, their broken promises, if they're showing you who they are, believe them. Don't try and make it into something it's not, because that way leads disaster.
It's true, because sometimes people want to see the best in everybody and they make excuses for them. And they say, well, he did this and did that. Maybe he was feeling that way at the time. Or they blame themselves. So, well, he didn't do that. It must be my fault. Maybe I did something wrong. But like you just said, it's down to them. It's how their personality really is. And as I mentioned earlier, everyone's got a tell. And behaviour can be the tell. If the words don't match the actions, then get out of there and find somebody else. Going back to the beginning, I should have asked you this earlier on, really, but I mentioned how I was giving advice for a company in terms of Zoom dating, because that is something that's still very common at the moment. People are still interacting over Zoom. We have got business meetings and people are dating from it. But there's one massive problem that I have found when it comes to this, and that's there's no eye contact. So you can't really read somebody in the same way when it comes to doing this. Because if you look at the camera or you look at the person, so I have to give people the illusion of eye contact by looking in the camera, but peripheral vision comes into that. Now, I know you'll be aware of this too, because you do it all the time as well. So what tips do you have in that situation?
The first tip I have, if you're not comfortable on camera, minimize yourself. You can even hide yourself on Zoom so that
I
you
do
can.
that. And I am comfortable, but I still hide myself because
it's
distracting.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you really aren't comfortable on camera, hide yourself, because there's nothing worse than looking at a big picture of yourself and making yourself feel even more uncomfortable. And then you just give off the totally wrong energy, and it's nothing to do with the other person. Actually, it's all about you. And online, I think it's even more important to become more about the other person than ever before. Let's not distract by ourselves. Let's be all about the other person, focus on the other person. Like you say, eye contact, really hard to do on Zoom. I'm looking at you now, but actually I should be looking at the camera to create that eye contact. But it's about feeling really comfortable and practice. I say to people, if you don't feel comfortable online, practice it until you do feel comfortable. Ring up your mum and dad on FaceTime, whoever it is. Get really comfortable, because you can give off the wrong energy if you're uncomfortable, and it's nothing to do with them. It's about you. So give off the energy you want them to connect to online, and just be aware really of what you're doing. Sometimes when you're not yourself on screen, you've hidden yourself, you can become unaware of what you're doing on screen, if that makes sense. You wouldn't do it in real life, but you can start fiddling, looking at your phone or being distracted. And I would say give 100% attention. Don't get distracted by your phone. Don't get distracted by other people or what's going on in the background. Give that person 100% attention, because they'll know the difference when you're distracted. And it can come across as a bit disrespectful, actually, if you start checking your phone and start fiddling with other stuff. So really focus on the other person.
Completely agree. I have that a lot with clients when I'm coaching them, and they start doing something, checking their work email pops up. But I appreciate life gets in the way. It's not a date. But if it was a real date situation and they suddenly cut off their attention and go and start checking emails or doing something else, it can be a bit rude. But
I think it's more obvious online as well. It's more obvious that someone's sort of disconnected and gone to check something else, or emails or phone. I think it's more obvious than it is in real life. And in real life, you probably wouldn't do it, to be honest. So don't do it online.
Completely agree. I do it occasionally during sessions with clients, because they might be looking on their phone to find something and they get a bit awkward about it. So I'll look away and start picking things up just to sort of give them a bit more space to do that. But I would never do it really in real life to do that, because that'd be really rude, and I'm aware of that. One quick thing you mentioned just now, some great advice I want to just reiterate a bit more. You said how if you're nervous about doing this, then do speak to someone else first. I've always said that in terms of phone calls. If you're a bit nervous making a phone call with someone for the first time, it's your first interaction, then call a friend up. Call your mum, call your dad up, have a quick chat for 5 minutes. Then you're in the zone. You're in the energy's levels right, isn't it? So that was brilliant advice there. Thank you so much. Well, do you know what? We've come to the end of this already. And time does rush by in these things. So if someone wants to find out more about you and your new services and what you do, how can they find you?
So I am everywhere. So I'm on Facebook. It's at BDatables. On Instagram, date.ables. And TikTok. I don't know about you, but TikTok is becoming a really great marketing source for me, and to connect with people who are my target audience. So on TikTok, it's also date.ables. And also my website is www.datables.co.uk.
Wonderful. Everyone's telling me to get onto TikTok, but it's just one more platform to focus on. So we'll discuss that off camera in a second. You can tell me about that. But for now, thank you so much. I really love talking to you. It's been wonderful. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to give you a free copy of my latest book, which you can download right now from my website, jamespreece.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could share the love by taking a few seconds to write a positive review on the iTunes store right now. See you next time.